To the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. It's 4 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order and let you know that the Nebraska open meeting rules are on the north wall of the agency boardroom. In attendance today, we have the mayor of Springfield, Robert Roseland, the mayor of Gretna, Mike Evans, the Public Works Director for the City of La Vista, Joe Susi, the Mayor of Bellevue, Rusty Hike, the Mayor of Papillion is also here, and I'm from Sarpy County. David Black and Don Kelly. Dan Hoynes is sitting in an unusual chair, so. I'm glad you're here, though. He's our agency administrator, and Jeff Thompson's our agency project engineer. Lisa Hare does our secretarial duties. So if you would, silence your cell phone, if you have one, and let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would any of the agency board members like to make any comments before we plow into the meeting? Okay, then we'll start right away with the staff and consultant reports. Dan Hoynes, agency administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, agency member mayors. Been an interesting few weeks. I did provide you a written report, I think, over the weekend, the first few weeks' activities. I'm not going to sit up here. You all have the ability to read and analyze it, but wanted to talk about a couple of higher-level policy things here. First, I would like to, again, I think personally I've thanked all of you, but publicly I'd like to thank you for your support for this position. Considered an honor and a privilege, and will do my best to meet the standards as you come through. So, the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks here have been interesting transitions, been a couple of curveballs, things that couldn't have seen coming, but I will tell you, I don't think anything that we can't overcome and won't overcome, but having the ability to really focus on just this project, and frankly, to spend a significant amount of time with your administrators and some of your staff to really understand what your individual needs are as agency members, and then provide options and solutions for global solutions to it. It's exciting, and we'll get there. There'll be some level of disagreement and different ideas, but I've never once in the 6+ years I've been involved in this project sensed any ill motive or anything other than this is very important and this is collaborative. So I thank you personally for that. Obviously, my approach is to be very collaborative. Probably have a tendency to over-communicate in some, so you can kick me out or tell me you don't want to meet that much, and still not a sensitive guy, you won't offend me. But specifically to the issues at hand, Mr. Chair and member mayors, there's really, you got the long term and the short term, and focusing a lot of energy right now on these global solutions for how do we manage boundary adjustments. Whatever we decide here in the next few months, weeks, I think it should be set the stage so that it can plug and play for future requests. I spent the weekend kind of going back to the formation agreement and the growth management policies and all of the attendant documentation, and I really came to this conclusion that there are a lot of uncertainties in this project, but the biggest one, and we frankly anticipated it, was we can't predict with a high level of accuracy when and where development's going to come. We want to be a responsive development community, but above all, we need to protect the interest of the agency. And so that's requiring a lot of discussion, getting really good feedback from your various staffs in doing that. But that's really important. I'm working on that. How do we adjust boundaries, not just for Gretna? They have an urgent, immediate need, but can this plug and play for Bellevue or Papillion or the other member agencies? So the rate study. You may recall, I think it was last March, this board retained Corello and Associates to conduct an initial rate study. Fast forward November, they issued a memorandum. It was their second meeting, and there was a fairly significant gap between the 2019-2020 projections on revenues measured against actual flows. And so they submitted a document that by their own, and I've been in 2 meetings now, I have another one tomorrow, they took a very conservative approach. We had pretty aggressive on the 2019, very conservative in the 2024 approach now. And so they had several line graphs, and we talked about assumptions. We have them again. I'll fast forward that I'm going to have a second draft to submit to your administrators at our biweekly meeting next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. It's going to look different, have some other assumptions. I'll engage, facilitate that discussion, but the end game is to get a rate study before this board for approval at the March 28th meeting, because all of that issue, it's connected to the all of the other discussions we're having, whether it's boundary adjustments or there's a nexus there, a connection there. Putting that on, and finally, spending a lot of time trying to figure out how we're going to address the treasurer position, the secretary position, our HR functions. Just a lot of things that different people are doing, and I'm not sure that we're consistent or being really efficient in that. My time frame is June 30th, which will align with our budget. But we're going to have to shift some pieces here over the next few weeks. So that really, Mr. Chair, member mayors, that's the 30,000 foot. I did provide hopefully a lot more information about some of the other details. Always available to answer any questions at this moment or any day. So are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir.
Jeff Thompson, project engineer.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. Thank you for your time here today. I don't have a lot to report, quite frankly. Between the holidays and the extremely cold weathers and snows, construction progress is slowed to a very minimum. So not a lot to report in regards to the construction side of things. However, I am planning on attending the county board meeting next week or the week after to provide them with an update. I will show them several of the photos and drone footage that we've been sharing with you folks over the course of the last 12 to 15 months, just so they have some context of things that have happened and transpired over the course of time and the work that continues to progress. We're still working with the railroad to try to get through the railroad crossing down there off of La Platte Road, and we did finally get the Corps permission to advance the bore under the creek. There's some challenges there that we're working through with the contractor in regards to the extra depth that was required to meet some of the factors of safety that the Corps imposed upon that boring, but we'll get there. It's just going to take us a little bit of time. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So you went to the Springfield's city council meeting, is that right?
I did, yes, sir. We actually had a special use permit request for a sign or some signage that we'd like to build along Highway 50 there at the entrance into the wastewater treatment plant property. There's actually an agenda item tonight for an amendment to our lease agreement with the city of Springfield because it wasn't contemplated within the agreement that signage would be allowed. And so that's one of the items that we'd ask for your consideration here on tonight, and I'll address that at that time. But did attend that meeting, provided them with some pictures of the signage that was put in along 63rd Street. I think I shared that with you, Chairman, and Administrator Hoynes, and hopefully that was shared with others. But
so one of the things Sarpy County's done is we've asked the agency to come to the board periodically and give us updates, because it's hard for me to keep all the commissioners informed, as I'm sure it is for you sometimes to keep your city council members informed. So I'll just offer up Jeff and Dan for that. If you guys are interested, just get in touch with them. But I think, when Jeff gets that slideshow going, it gets pretty informative. So,
yeah, pictures say 1,000 words, right? I mean, it does.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Yep, thank you.
Adam Charleston, legal counsel.
Hey, Chairman Kelly, thank you. I'd like to reserve my stuff probably for later in the agenda today.
Absolutely.
We've been doing lots of land rights work and closing out some condemnation pieces. So,
all right,
yeah,
thank you. All right, we'll get right into the consent agenda. 2 items. If any of the agency members would like to see those discussed, we can move them to the regular agenda. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve as published.
Motion to approve.
Bellevue.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Bellevue, a second by Gretna. Any further questions or comments? Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays 9, motion carried.
Okay, the first item on the regular agenda is our legislative update and presentation from Tim Gay of Catalyst Public Affairs, our lobbyist.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Lisa. Lisa's going to bring up a couple of bills we'll go over. Main thing we had going on, I put bills on there that would be somewhat related. It's kind of, there's not a lot of things related, right, to a sewer and some things like that, but it's interesting. There's 3 other bills in exactly like yours now from last year, so I did include those. But I wanted to talk about some of these bills, LB 600, and I think if you click on those, you can open them too, but that just was heard yesterday, and what's going on with that is it's a priority bill by Senator Lippincott. The reason I put it on here, I assume some of the mayors would know there's some fund, it's an infrastructure fund, and I'm sorry, I was going to print it out, exact name of this fund, but it's an infrastructure fund that, to me, when I read the bill, it looks like it's open to everybody. But the news story said today that it's for Grand Island to hook out to an ammunition depot, and maybe Ralston could use it. It doesn't say that in the bill, though, so it says cities in first and second class. So maybe it's something you could do. The $10 million they're asking for is, there was a little argument today, which I thought was interesting, from Senator Clements, the appropriations chair, saying, wait a minute, $10 million, I don't know, where that's going to come from. For the general fund is where they're going to get it. But he was saying, let's hold on. I thought that was kind of interesting considering all the tax cuts they've been passing and all the, the different spending that's been going on, that now $10 million in the next fiscal year is going to be a problem, but whatever. But anyway, I just put that for your attention. So if you're at any community meetings, you can talk about it. Our bill, LB 1080, was the main thrust of what we wanted to do. So Senator Holcroft introduced the bill, which makes sense. It's mostly in his area, a lot of where this is happening. He's a good, well-respected senator. He's been awesome last time. He gets it. So really good that he appreciate him doing that. And what he brings to the table, like I say, he's well respected. He's well liked. He knows the issue pretty well, and so we can ask for a better sponsor on the bill. I'll tell you that. So we also got a good situation where it went to the Appropriations Committee, where it should go, and pretty much it's a bill. If you open it, it's simple. It's the same language we had last year, except it just comes from ARPA funds. So the idea on this is you put a bill in, and others have done this too, so we're not alone. You put the bill in there, and if ARPA funds aren't used or available, they'll come back and it's like, oh gosh, we have, $50 million. That sounds like a lot of money, but considering all the money they had on ARPA, you could see that. So what we want to do then is convince them that, hey, this is a good project, it's an interlocal agreement, and it's growth and everything else. So Dan and I will be down making the pitch to appropriations members. We haven't quite figured that out. The hearing date we just found out, I think, is February 20th or 21st, one of those 2 days. So that gives us plenty of time to go talk to senators on that Appropriations Committee and kind of fill them up to speed, because you only get like 3 minutes in front of that hearing. So it's always best to talk to them before. But that's our bill. The other one I put on there, there's other, like I say, they're related bills. Senator Rabel's looking for money. Sarah Hughes, I thought was interesting. She was on the committee last year that kind of questioned what we were doing, and then she went ahead and put in a bill for her community and sewer, it looks like, so that's good. I put one on here, well, 2 actually. 1241 is a property tax. It's a valuation bill that you've probably been hearing about. Senator Von Gillerin, is where it's a lid, kind of, you can't raise your levy over the valuation and this and that. So I talked to him just this morning, and I said, hey, we got an issue with this because in growing communities, this is just going to be a spiral down. He goes, yeah, I figured that out after I put it in. He goes, there's going to be an amendment coming. And I said, well, we'd like to chime in, so I don't know when this amendment is coming, but that was good news, at least, that he knows there's an issue with that, because for growing counties. So the other one then, LB 1414, I then talked to Senator Linehan today and said the same thing. I just talked to Von Gillerin. He has this thing. You got your lid bill. what's going on here? You have growth factored in your lid bill. And she says, well, I think we do. But there's an amendment coming on that one too, I found out. So what we're doing, John Cannon with NACO said that on the lid bill and the valuation bill that NACO's been invited to visit on that. League of Municipalities, Lynn will be there, and others. So I don't know how that all works out, but I thought it was kind of surprising that they're already going to go start doing amendments. But anyway, like I said, the main crux of this is we've got a good bill in. We're going to get started and start telling our story. I've talked to Dan several times over the past couple of weeks, just with the bill and this and that. And we put in 10 million, okay? I know it's a lot more than that, but I think the realistic thing is you've got to justify how you're going to use the money. I know some other people put in a lot more money, and I know it's going to cost a lot more, but you got to say, how can I use it before 2026? So would that be engineering? So I think we got to still go and decide exactly what that'd look like, narrow it down so we can make a good pitch. And it's like, no, it's be for this, this, and this, and here's our bills, our estimates at least, then, and that we could get it spent. So that's kind of the plan. Right now it's pretty slow with just hearings going on, but there's a lot of things, like I said, that we'll be doing behind the scenes to go talk to folks. So other than that, I'm not going to get into the whole legislative stuff because you all get that anyway. But that's where we are with your sewer bill, and if there's any questions, happy to try to answer them.
What's your overall opinion of what's going to happen down in Lincoln this short session?
On what? On this is
Just in general, you think they'll get much accomplished?
I don't know. I mean, we all know there's going to be a lot of conversations on the. I'm concerned, like I say, how do you? There are things in those lids that are not in the lid, bonding and some of those things. So I think it's a 130-page bill on the lid bill. So when you all go through it, and thank goodness Lynn and everyone's looking at it now. But like I say, it's hard to tell on that because when they say they got an amendment, what's it going to look like? So I can't guess how things are going to shape up, but I'm sure there's going to be a long hearing on that bill and others coming up. And right now what's going on is mostly the easier bills. There's nothing too controversial has been scheduled, but that'll start probably next week. I saw a few that are going to probably get some folks down to so the social issues and taxing and all those things. But first week, there's not much going on. I would say they're trying to run all these bills by, there's 600 bills, which is usually what they had last year, in a long session. They're trying to get all these bills to have a hearing by the end of February. So if you're following bills, you follow them closely because they could come up fairly quick, or they could go to long nights too, I'm guessing, if you're going to do that, especially in some of these committees that get, 80, 90, 100 bills. That's hard to do and have good hearings for, you're doing 8 bills a day possibly on some of these things. So they could go a little long. But other than that, I don't know. Every day's a new adventure, Commissioner. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to speculate too much because you look kind of foolish when it doesn't jive. So, and then, like I say, feel free to call or pull me over to obviously working through Dan on everything, and we'll get her all settled away. So,
Thanks. Anybody have any questions for Tim?
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Okay. Agenda item number 4 is resolution 2024-001, appointing Julie Ulrich, interim treasurer of the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency. Dan Hoynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. I'd like to ask Ms. Ulrich if she could come up here just for a few minutes so you can put a face with a name. As you're all aware, since we last met, we've had a vacancy in our agency treasurer position. Worked with CFO Systems to fill that vacancy. I also alluded to the structural analysis I've been doing on the various positions, secretary, treasurer, HR. And so I've requested this be an interim position. Julia has stepped up. She is more than qualified. We've performed the proper due diligence and confirmed that she's very qualified to do this job. So would respectfully request the your approval of appointing Julia as the interim treasurer, and we'll find out how good of an extemporaneous speaker she is. I'll just have her introduce herself.
Well, since I'm a CPA, I'm not a good extemporaneous speaker, right? I don't think those two things go hand in hand. But I do have experience in public accounting. I'm a CPA, I have an MBA. I spent 25 years at Union Pacific in various financial and accounting responsibilities. I took early retirement from Union Pacific and then started at CFO Systems about 7 months ago. So that's my background.
Any questions, Mr. Chair, member mayors?
Welcome.
Can you help on our railroad crossing in La Platte, or is that?
Well, I wondered if UP was the railroad that somebody was talking about. Yeah, probably not. I don't think the finance department and the engineering department interact very well.
Probably not.
Nobody interacts well with engineering
Or the railroad.
or legal.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve Resolution 001?
Motion to approve.
Second, Bellevue.
Motion by Papillion, second by Bellevue. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carries.
Okay, item number 5 is Resolution 002, approving and authorizing execution of the First Amendment to the ground lease and conditional use permit between Sarpy County, Cities and Wastewater Agency, and the City of Springfield. Jeff.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. As you'd alluded to previously, this is the item that, or one of the items that we had taken to Springfield to allow an amendment to our current ground lease agreement. Really two things associated with this amendment. One, the original document didn't include a legal description, so it could be recorded against the property itself. So we included that in this amendment, so it will be recorded with the Register of Deeds office and run with the property. And then secondly, it will allow for monument signage along Highway 50 that we can construct in advance of taking over the property once Springfield connects to the agency system. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I really like the sign design, so it'll look nice.
Thank you.
No questions?
Council approved it.
They approved the special, they approved the special use permit. They wanted approval by the agency board for this agreement in advance of them considering it.
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Springfield and a second by Gretna. Any further questions or discussion? Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6 is executive session. For the protection of the public interest, I'm going to move that we go into executive session to discuss a personnel issue and a legal matter. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Bellevue.
Got a motion by Sarpy and a second by Bellevue to go into executive session. Please vote.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to
Yes.
extend an offer to the agency administrators and obviously the engineer and attorney. But we have two other agency administrators that are certainly invited to participate in a closed session.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. Thank you. Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, it's now 4:24. We're going to go into executive session where our discussion will be restricted to personnel and a legal issue. Thank you for coming. Those of you by Bellevue and a second by Springfield, please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, our next meeting is going to be, last day of February, is it? February 28th, 2024. All agenda items have been addressed as published, and the Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency Board is adjourned. Thank you for coming.